We designed these open houses to give you a real chance to find out as much as you can about Vermont Law School. And our name is a bit of a misnomer because we're really the Vermont Law and Policy School, because we have 3 master's programs and a 4th master's program, which I'll briefly mention. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea about my background, talk a little bit about the school, and then you're going to hear some of the other faculty members talk about specific programs and areas of the school. But this is really a chance for you to find out as much as you can about us, and we'd love to find out something about you. I've met a few of you already, and I think we have folks here from Seattle, we have folks here from Charlotte, we have folks here from New York City, Vermont, Maine, a family that drove all the way from Pittsburgh. We have a former electrician who was in the Navy. We have environmental consultant. We have someone who's a glassblower. You'll have to find out who that person is later on. And someone who's working on probate in New York City. So, and that's just a little bit of a sense of the mix. I think that mix probably gives you a little bit of a sense of just how diverse and exciting a group of people you would find if you came to Vermont Law School. We are the only ABA accredited law school that doesn't have a stoplight in its main town. We are a tiny little place, and we are, as a result, a deeply strong and committed community of scholars and teachers and supporters of your master's degree or your J degree, and I think that's really a distinguishing aspect of our school, and I'll talk about that in a little bit more. But before we get started, I want to just identify in the room for you a lot of the people that you are going to get to know during the day. So I'll first ask everybody who is a faculty member to raise their hand. So you can look and see. So Sean Nolon, Beth McCormack here, our Dean of Students, our Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Professor Bobby Sand back here, who is running our Restorative Justice program and teaches criminal law. In the very back, Joe Brennan, who runs our Academic Success programs. You know, the fact that Pat Parenteau is around here somewhere, because I know he's going to be speaking. So let me just ask for all the staff members to raise their hands who are here. Lorraine Atwood, who is our Chief Financial Officer in the back. Katie Merrill in the back. Who else do we have? Laura, sorry. And then, of course, you have our admission staff who are here. So if you see them with this sort of semi-official looking pins like this, they're from Vermont Law School. Just walk to them and introduce yourself. So our student ambassadors and students who are in the room from Vermont Law School, raise your hands here. So you can get some sense, if you look around the room, of how many. They are in some ways your absolute best contacts and best people to speak to while you're here, because they can tell you what the experience of being at the school is like. And they will be around during the day, both giving tours and meeting with you. So take the opportunity to meet them and ask them questions while you're here. So my background is, I'm an environmental lawyer for 30 years. I actually have both a master's degree in forestry and environmental studies, not from Vermont Law School, but then a JD degree. So I think extremely highly of both getting a master's degree and using a master's degree, if that's what you choose to do, as well as combining a master's degree with a JD degree, or just getting a JD degree on its own. I recently had some statistics, by the way, that came from a Gallup Access Lexis poll on JD degrees, and they found that the law degree is one of the most valuable advanced degrees as evaluated by law graduates and other degree holders, that most law graduates strongly agree that they would still get their JD degree if given the opportunity to go back to school and do it over again, and that a large majority of them agree that it was very much worth the cost. And we're well aware that the costs of higher education, particularly graduate education, have increased dramatically in the last couple of decades, and we'll work with you on that. But we're very mindful of the fact that it's expensive to get advanced degrees. And we do everything we can to make sure that we limit those costs, we make it as economical as possible, and that we look for great opportunities for jobs for you. So one of the things you should be asking about is the kind of jobs we have. We did a recent survey, by the way, for our master's students, and it was amazing the variety of jobs that our master's students took. Similarly, as you'll see, our JD students do a huge variety of different things. Last summer, we had our students take the bar in 32 different states, more than half the states in the United States. Very sort of like extraordinary variety. Interestingly, 10% of our students come from Vermont, By the way, raise your hand if you're visiting and you're from Vermont, just get a sense. We've got a number of you. And everybody else is not from Vermont, but beware, 20% of our alumni live in Vermont, which means you either fell in love with Vermont when you came here, or you fell in love when you were in Vermont. So that's what happens to people. I grew up in New York City, spent time, went to school in Massachusetts and Connecticut, came up here and actually competed in cross-country ski races when I was in high school, and then ended up going to law school in New York and meeting a very pretty woman while I was in law school, who was from California, and moved to California for 30 years where I practiced environmental law. During that time, I also taught at Claremont McKenna College, which is one of the Claremont colleges a little bit east of Los Angeles. And then I was lured back to Vermont Law School, and I taught at Vermont Law School in our summer program. And one of the things you should all know is that we have an absolutely terrific and fascinating summer program. It may be that Dean McCormack is going to talk about it, or Dean Nolon today, but just a little, if I could steal a little thunder from them, in addition to our regular faculty, which are extraordinary in their own right, during the summertime, for periods of 2 weeks or 3 weeks, we bring nationally recognized scholars and experts and practitioners, as well as international ones who come back to the school and teach courses. They're very intensive. It's 3 hours of class a day. But as a result, we get absolutely terrific people here. We get one of the senior enforcement lawyers at the US EPA who takes his vacation time every year to come teach at Vermont Law School for 2 weeks. And I asked him about it. He said, yeah, they're my favorite 2 weeks of the year. So they really enjoy sharing that with you. So those are the things I want to mention the most. The other thing I would just leave you with as a thought, because I want to try to leave some time for questions later on, and I'll be available this morning, is that this is a community of scholars and teachers and students. You may have the impression that law school, if you've seen movies about law school, is a cutthroat, competitive environment in which people aren't nice to each other and they're sort of scrambling. That is not, by the way, that's not true. That sells TV scripts, but by and large, that's not really true anyway. But that's particularly not true at Vermont Law School. One of the things you'll find, and you should ask the fellow students who are around the room, is that this is a supportive community of students in which we have the interests of the students at heart, and we're very eager to see them succeed. And you'll see that in our placement results. You'll see that in the way our classes are run. And I'm just struck, I walk the halls of this institution regularly. Every evening and every afternoon, it seems like there's yet another interesting student-led event taking place, another interesting event where people are coming from outside to come to the school. We had a legal tech conference here on Friday looking at the advances in legal technology. On Thursday, we showed a program in the afternoon having to do with opposition to a dam in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. At the same time, a group of Latin students that focused on Latin American issues that Professor Sand organized at Bale. It's striking. And then, of course, we have the Color Festival and a run taking place at lunchtime today. So you will not be bored at Vermont Law School. The opportunities will be huge for you. And I look forward to meeting you and talking to you. Please introduce yourselves and get to know everybody. So I think I'm going to turn it over, John, at this point to, who's next, Katie?
Dean McCormack.
Who is? To Dean Beth McCormack. Beth is our Dean of Students here at the school and also an avid downhill skier. And she'll tell you a bit about our student programs. Thank you, Beth. You can use that one.
Yeah, I can use this one. Good morning, prospective students. How many are master's students here? Prospective master's students. Okay, and then the JDs, raise your hand. Any LLMs, potential LLMs here? One back there, I see. Great. Well, welcome to Vermont Law School. My job today is to talk a little bit about the academic program. And I could talk for days about our curriculum and our academic program, but I'll spare you and talk only for 5 to 7 minutes as instructed by Katie. And I want to highlight 4 things that I think are really impressive about our program here at Vermont Law School. The first is our focus on writing. So I've been at Vermont Law School since 2011, and as Dean McHenry said, I'm the vice dean for students here. But I'm also a professor of law in the legal writing program. And And before coming here, I practiced law in Boston for about 10 years. And I thought then, what I still think now, is that legal writing is the most important class that you're going to take in law school. No offense, Dean Nolon, who does not teach legal writing. I think that because everything you do as a lawyer is in writing, and every type of lawyer and every type of professional for our master's students is going to need to write and need to write well. So one of the things that I like most about Vermont Law School's JD curriculum and its master's curriculum is that it places such a focus on legal writing. We're one of the few law schools that has 3 required semesters of legal writing, and our 3rd required semester is really unique. It's called Appellate Advocacy, and it's a class where students study a pending Supreme Court case, and they actually write a brief on a pending Supreme Court case, and then they do an argument against another student in the class in front of members of the Vermont judiciary and the Vermont bar. It's a really exciting rite of passage for students, and because it's a pending Supreme Court case, the students actually often go to Washington, D.C. to watch the real oral argument in the case, and it's really quite an experience. And I love this class even for students that don't want to be appellate advocates, because it really focuses on writing skills, advocacy skills, and presentation skills, all things that you need no matter what career you pursue. Along the same lines, Vermont Law School has really developed an expertise in moot court over the last few years in particular, and I'm proud to say that our national moot court team this year won the regional competition in Boston, beating out every other school in the New England region to earn the opportunity to participate in the national competition in New York in January, where we made it to the quarterfinals. So I'm so proud of that. I like to talk about it whenever I get the chance. We also really focus on writing for our master's students, and in fact, this year we have a new writing class specifically geared towards master's students to teach them the fundamentals of writing and to help them succeed in their classes here. So we're excited about that. That's new this year, and we're really excited to launch that. The second thing I want to tell you about our curriculum is its flexibility. As Dean McHenry said, South Royalton doesn't have a stoplight, and it's a great place to study. Whenever it snows here, I say it's great study weather, even though sometimes students go skiing instead. But not everyone wants to be here for a full 3 years, or perhaps people have family commitments or spouses who don't want to be here for a full 3 years. And so I'm proud that our curriculum offers a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity to cater the education to what you need. And I'm talking about our accelerated JD program, which allows you to complete your JD in 2 calendar years. I'm talking about our extended JD program, which lets you complete your JD in 4 years at a reduced schedule for those that perhaps have other commitments or just want to take things a little bit more slowly. We also have a reduced residency program, which allows you to be on campus for 1 calendar year and complete your JD through a combination of online classes and externships that allow you to be really anywhere in the country or even out of the country. On that note, we have the American Bar Association lets students take up to 15 credits online to complete their JD. So we have a full suite of both environmental and online or NJD classes available online for students. We also offer quite a bit of flexibility in our master's program. Our 1-year master's program, you can either do online or on campus or a hybrid, part online and part on campus. So we're really proud of that flexibility that we're able to offer all of our students. The third thing I wanted to highlight about our curriculum is our focus on experiential learning. So we really believe that one of the best ways to learn is through hands-on opportunities. We have 5 clinics here at the law school where our JD students and our master's students can get the opportunity to really get that hands-on learning. We have our energy clinic, which is available to both master's and JD students. We have our Environmental and Natural Resources Law Center, which does both litigation and policy work. We have our Food and Agricultural Clinic, which works on animal welfare issues and social justice in the food system, among other things. We have our South Royalton Legal Clinic, which is a general practice clinic that does all sorts of areas of law and really caters to low-income people who need legal services in Vermont. And we have our Legislative Clinic, which allows students to work hands-on in the Vermont legislature. Our JD students need to complete 6 credits of experiential learning, and working in any of those clinics satisfies it. But if you can't find what you're looking for there, we also have an extensive and well-known externship program, which allows both master's students and JD students to earn credit under the supervision of both a faculty member from school and an off-site supervisor, really in any place that you can imagine. So our students do externships in all 50 states, even out of the country, in all types of organizations, nonprofits, law firms, prosecutors and defenders' office, really anything you can imagine, we have a placement there. And so our students get that hands-on experience before graduating. The last thing I wanted to highlight about our curriculum is our environmental program, and I'm not going to talk too much about that because I know Professor Parenteau is going to talk a lot about that. But as you probably know, we've been #1 in environmental law for a million years, and especially this year, where the rankings were just released. And we have more environmental classes than any other law school, opportunities for joint degrees, opportunities for specializations in different areas of environmental law. But I also wanted to share with you that we're a home for people that aren't interested in environmental law as well. And in fact, occasionally, we do have students that come here because of our environmental program and then fall in love with criminal law, or then fall in love with some other type of law, business law, tax law, something like that. And we have a home for you here as well. In fact, our criminal law program has been getting more and more notoriety over the years. You'll hear about our new restorative justice program from Professor Sand in a little bit. And then there was a recent news article that named us one of the best schools for educating prosecutors and defenders. So we have a lot of other specialties other than environmental law. But of course, if you're interested in environmental law, this is the place to be. So those are the 4 things that I really wanted to highlight today. I'll be around all day, and I'm happy to answer questions. And now I'm going to turn it over to Professor Parenteau, who's going to talk more about our environmental program.
You know, a lot of people criticize it because it's very impressionistic, right? I mean, the fact that we've been ranked #1, I think, 28 years or something like that is what does that really mean? A lot of people say it's just a beauty contest, right? Well, I'm living proof it ain't a beauty contest, okay? Okay, there's something else going on here than just beauty. And so, what do you think are the 3 most important environmental issues facing humanity in the 21st century? Water.
CO2 levels.
Climate. Energy. Water. We got water. We need one more.
Pollution. Air pollution.
You like to eat? Food, right? Energy, water, food. Guess what? You can become a specialist in each one of those, all of those. We got more degrees than Ben & Jerry's got flavorful ice cream. You like food? How about our MFALP? We love these acronyms. Masters of Food and Agricultural Law. We got that. You heard Dean McCormack talking about the food law clinic. I mean, this is a chance for you to actually build local food webs, to actually bring organic food, healthy, nutritious, environmentally correct food to everybody's plate at an affordable price, without beggaring the environment, without destroying habitat, without filling wetlands, without polluting the water, without polluting the air, right? Good, healthy, nutritious, wonderful, tasty food systems controlled by people, not big ag. We can do that. We're doing that. Little by little, inch by inch, row by row, day by day. That's what we do here. How about energy? Anybody interested in energy? Anybody think we could have a cleaner, more efficient, more affordable, more reliable, more resilient, less planet-destroying energy system than the one we have? You think so? Well, then why don't you come here and find out how to do it? Because that's what we do with our Masters of Energy Regulation Law, the MERL. How about, would you like to sue the president? Would you like to at least slow him down? You understand he's rolling back every single environmental law in the books. You got that, right? You understand that, right? You understand what Mr. Pruitt's doing to the EPA, right? Hollowing it out, driving people away, defunding it. Does that matter to you? I don't know. Clean air matter to you? Does it matter what you're breathing? Does it matter where you live downwind of a power plant? Coal-fired power plant? That this administration is determined to keep burning and to restart the ones that have closed because there are cleaner sources available? So, would you like to sue the president? Well, come on board, because we got the clinic that's doing that right now. As I speak, yesterday we were on the phone with a group of lawyers pushing back against President Trump's attempts to completely destroy the national monuments created by 2 other presidents. Ain't gonna happen. Not if we have anything to say about it. Not if you have anything to say about it. So, you want to get, how about this? Maybe litigation's not your thing. It's not everybody's thing. You know, it's my thing, but it's not everybody's thing. So, maybe the sweet voice of reason, as Dean Nolon would like to promote, which is a good idea. So, maybe collaboration, negotiation, mediation. Why can't we just get along? Let's work these things out. That's an important part of the puzzle. Can't just cram things down people's throat all the time. So we got that too. Dispute resolution, whole suite of courses. Do we still have a certificate? No. No, but you can still get close to it. Look, I'll tell you what, I'll give you a certificate, okay? How's that? So, transactional law, our solar clinic in the Energy Institute, we're helping communities build distributed energy systems. Solar is booming, big time. Solar and wind are the fastest growing sectors of the energy sector. Solar is creating more jobs than all of the other sectors of the economy put together. Solar installation, electricity generation I'm talking about. Did you hear that? Solar, not coal, not gas. Solar is creating jobs. Over 200,000 in California last year. See, that's where the future is. That's where we are. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about the past. We're not even talking about right now, today. We're talking about long term. How are you going to have a sustainable planet? What does that mean? What kind of policies do you need? What kind of laws do you need? What kind of contracts do you need? What kind of systems do you need? What kind of agencies do you need? What kinds of entrepreneurial activity do you need? You want to go to work for a green company, a B corporation? Great, you can do that. In fact, you want to go work in France? You can do that. Italy? You can do that. China? You can do that. You got another idea? Let us know. Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? Why the hell are you here? That's an important question. Why are you here? And what are you going to leave behind? So, we're a pretty serious group, sometimes. But we know how to have fun. We know how to have fun. And we're in a great place to have fun. I mean, where else do you want to learn about environmental law than Vermont? Right? And summer does come, July 4th. It'll be here. And that's always something wonderful to look forward to. The dean mentioned the summer program. Wow. You want to stretch your brains? You want to stretch your thinking? How about earth law? How about the rights of nature? How about the rights of other living beings? How about we aren't here alone? But also, how do you write a conservation easement? How do you make it work? How do you finance clean energy? What's happening in the developing world? Where's India going with its energy system? How do you get solar cooking instruments into rural villages that don't even have electricity and that are cooking their food over open fires and breathing in black carbon that are killing women and children by the millions? Yes, by the millions. Could we stop that? Could we change that? Could we get clean water where it's needed? Could we electrify places on the planet, 2 billion people that don't have electricity? Can we do it with clean energy? Would you like to be part of that revolution? Would you like to have that on your transcript? Then come here. Join us. We'd love to see you. Thanks. You next.
I always love following Pat Parenteau. Sets the bar very high, so thank you, Pat. Pat worked for many years at the EPA, came to Vermont Law School, set up the Environmental and Natural Resources Law Clinic, obviously a gifted orator, gifted litigator, and with this clinic, it introduced into the curriculum an experiential component that is basically, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best components that you can get in a law school. And this is coming from the dispute resolution guy. I attended, where I went to law school, I unfortunately went to a slightly less impressive law school than Vermont Law School, but they did have an environmental clinic, and I did it for 2 semesters, and it was the best experience of my litigation, of my law school career. So thank you, Pat, for everything you're doing with that. What I want to do is talk to you a little bit about the dispute resolution offerings that we have and what it is, how dispute resolution fits into law school. So I'm going to make John Miller's job a little hard. I'm going to sort of move around a little bit. So he's going to have to follow me and stay awake, actually. I want to ask you a question. You don't need to answer. Why is it that you want to come to Vermont Law and Policy School? Whether or not you're getting a JD or a master's, why is it that you're interested in coming? If I could read your mind, my guess is that what you're going to say is it's something along the lines of, I want to help people with problems that they're having in their life, whether it's environmental problems or problems in their society. Usually has something to do with helping clients get the outcomes they want, right? Read your mind, right? So how do you do that? Pat talked about one way to do that, which is through litigation, which is through changing laws, which is when people are breaking laws, we hold them accountable, and we use litigation to do that. But what is it that a judge can order people to do? When you go to court and you ask a judge to do something, what is it that a judge can do? I'll ask anybody to give me some examples of that. I heard it. I heard it.
Injunction.
Well, they don't know what an injunction is.
Like, get them to stop doing something.
Right, you order them, tell them to stop doing something. What else? One more thing. Money, right? Pay money, right? That's what judges do. They're great at that, right? If someone's breaking the law, they'll tell you to stop. If you harm someone and they owe you money, the judge will tell you to pay them, right? And it's great. We've done a lot of good in the world with those things. However, there's a whole suite of other skills that we need to solve the tremendously difficult problems that we're facing in society. And if you're interested in policy, you're going to have to negotiate. You're going to have to talk to people. You're going to have to explore. You're going to have to study difficult issues. You're going to have to try and find solutions to intractable problems. And so as a lawyer, as a policy expert, if you're going to get a master's degree, you need to be a fantastic negotiator. You need to understand how to do that. You need to understand what it is that other people are going to do in a negotiation that you can counter. And so we bring that into the curriculum here at Vermont Law School. It's one of the requirements of the master's degree. There's a full-day negotiation boot camp for the JD program that we hold every year, except when there's a big snowstorm. Sorry, this first-year class. We'll offer again next year, so you can do it as 2L. And there's also courses in environmental dispute resolution, courses in negotiation, courses in mediation. These are important skills that you're going to need to accomplish the goals that you have in your life, and we want to take that seriously here at Vermont Law School. All right, and as a segue, a lot of the work that we talk about in dispute resolution is related to a new program that we've just started, which is the Masters in Restorative Justice. And so I'm going to hand it off to Bobby Sand, who can talk to you about some of the fantastic things he's doing with the Restorative Justice program.
So they told me that they wanted to make a dartboard, and that was fine by me. This I did not expect, and apparently I only own one tie. But this shirt has stripes and this is solid, so at least I changed my shirt. I want to tell you a story about an old dog learning new tricks. I am the dog in the story. So a while back, my mom needed to have a procedure done. She's fine. But my brother, who lives outside Boston, and my sister, who lives in DC, and I wanted to be there to support her. So we all agreed to head to Westchester outside New York City to support my mom. And we didn't want to stay in a hotel, so we thought it'd be more fun to rent a house. So I went on to Airbnb and found a house in Westchester near where my mom was going to be. In the morning that the rental was supposed to start, I was a little frustrated because the owner hadn't sent us the code to unlock the lockbox to get into the house. So I emailed him, and about 3 hours later, he sent me the code. So we spent the day with my mom in the afternoon, and then my brother, sister, and I went out for a late dinner, late by my standards, because Vermonters usually go to bed like 9 at the latest, and we didn't finish till about 10 o'clock. There's a light drizzle. We arrive at the rental, and I find the lockbox, and I plug in the code, and inside is the key, and I hand it to my sister, who's standing by the front door, and she unlocks the door, opens it, and there's a latch chain across the door. So my sister says, I guess we're going to a hotel. My brother lets loose with a volley of expletives, most of them directed at me since I was the one who had arranged the Airbnb. And I walk up to the front door and with a fairly firm shove of my shoulder, pop the latch, open the door, damage the trim. My sister is shocked. My brother thinks it's incredibly cool. We go to sleep, and the next morning, I, of course, do the right thing, and I email the owner, and I say, your house is lovely, but I do need to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, there was a latch across the door, and in pushing the door open, I damaged the trim. Well, in response, he went ballistic, and he said, you had no right to do that. How do I know you're not going to damage the rest of my house? I'm going to evict you. This is outrageous. And I emailed back and I said, you know, I am sorry. I wish I hadn't done that, but you did have a contractual obligation to allow us access. And he responds, don't tell me about contractual obligations. I'm a lawyer, blah, blah, blah. And I say, well, I was a prosecutor for 22 years. I was the elected DA for 16 years. I'm now a law professor, so blah, 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 blah. He responds with 5 blahs. I come back with 6. And finally he says, fine, I'm not going to fight with you anymore. This is him talking. I will pay for the door, but I am going to report you to the police. So now I really doubled down on my legal research. What is the law of contract? Did I have a self-help remedy? What are the rules of Airbnb? What's the criminal law in New York State say about damage to property? Did I have a reasonable ground to believe that I could gain access? Needless to say, I was not particularly present for my mom. After about 2 days of mulling over whether I was going to be arrested and were my affairs in order, some of the voices of the leading restorative justice practitioners started creeping into my head. Howard Zerr, ZEHR, really the father or grandfather of restorative justice, Kay Pranis, John Braithwaite, Gail Burford, who's affiliated with Vermont Law School. And I started thinking, regardless of the legalities of what I did I cause harm? I did. Did causing that harm give rise to some obligations on my part? Yes. Did I have a way to make amends? Yes, I did. And could those amends lead to a strengthening of relationships and to healing? And I thought the answer to those questions were yes as well. I got home, I researched how much I thought it would cost to repair the door. I wrote a check for that amount and then some, and I sent a letter to the owner, and I said, regardless of the legalities of what I did, I harmed you, I am sorry, here's a check to repair the door trim. To the extent that I've sent you more than you need, I hope you'll consider donating the rest to charity. 3 days later, I get an email from the owner, and he says, thank you so much. You have restored my faith in humanity. I am so sorry at the way I overreacted. End of story, except 6 weeks after that, I received in the mail a check from the owner refunding 3/4 of the amount that I had originally sent him. Now, I recognize that I was fortunate enough to be able to write a check to help make amends, and that not everybody has that ability. But the story for me reflected a change in my thinking. I initially approached this problem using all the skills I learned here before Sean Nolon started his program when I was a student at Vermont Law School. I used the rules of evidence and the law and my advocacy skills to think about how could I maximize the strength of my position and use those same skills to highlight and maximize the weaknesses of my adversary's position. And that is the adversarial system, and it's a very effective way to address some issues, and sometimes it even results in justice, but not always. There are other ways to achieve justice, and that includes taking a restorative justice approach. So I am really happy to be part of the first and only law school in this country that will offer a joint JD law degree and Master of Arts in Restorative Justice. And it will be incredibly exciting to see students graduating from this institution understanding that there are multiple ways to think about crime, harm, and conflict. Restorative justice has applicability in the criminal justice system, but also in educational institutions, in child protection, in international human rights. Honestly, anywhere where there's harm and conflict, there is a role for restorative justice, and folks, that means there's a role everywhere for restorative justice. So, if you're not sold already in jointly declaring a JD and Master of Arts in Restorative Justice, look out in the fall because I'm going to come talk to you. Thanks for your time.
So it's always hard to follow the poster boy of a day, but I'm gonna do my best. I'm Joe Brennan, and I'm the Director of Academic Success here. And Professor Parenteau mentioned all of the Ben and Jerry's flavors, but you gotta have sprinkles, and you gotta have some hot chocolate on top of that. And that's kind of what ASP is. It's the additional skills, the additional ways of thinking about the information, the additional support that's gonna help you do well in the master's programs, all the various ones we have, your JD classes, whether it's a really important one like Professor Dean McCormack's legal writing, or a lesser important one like Dean Nolon's civil procedure. We help kind of across the curriculum with different things that will help you show the best in your class, because you might have all the information up here, but it's all about being able to convey it and get the grade you want to get, and being efficient with your time too. Because you're all coming from very different backgrounds, different programs, and every different discipline you do, there's a different way to approach it. Some of you from a science background will be approaching a lab very different than somebody doing an English paper or a history thesis. So law school's no different. It's a different way of studying, a different way of working with the information. And when you start, you're getting 5 different classes coming at you, a lot of different, just substantive information coming at you, and how you work with that and kind of piece it together so you're in a really good position at the end of the term. when I was in law school, it kind of was just a final at the end, just one thing that was like 90% of your grade and maybe 10% was class participation. Here we do a really good job of having midterms in the 1L year and in the master's classes, in the required master's class, legislation and regulation class. So you have an idea of where you are midway through. Those tend to be about 20-ish, 25% maybe of your grade. So a large amount is still based on your final exam. So some of the skills we work on with you is not just knowing the information when you're doing it, that's important, but also how to retain it and work with it and know it in December when you read that case in August, and know how to answer it in the way that your professors are going to ask. Because it's not like a test that says, which rule of civil procedure says that you may join a party? It's going to be a very detailed fact pattern that you're going to have to pull out and give a very specific answer related to. Because that's kind of what being a lawyer is. Somebody comes to you with a problem, and they don't say, it's not a quiz or a trivia day. They're coming to you with a problem, and you have to apply the rules you know to be able to solve that problem. So we work with various different areas typically throughout the year. At the start, sometimes it's scheduling, a lot of scheduling. Because law school, you're going to be taking, if you're in the JD program, 16 credits. You're going to be in the master's program. It'll vary a little bit, but you're going to be taking full loads. And you need to take some time off. You need to eat. You need to be sane. You need to exercise. You need to do things that keep you normal. That keep you from burning out. Because again, it's a long semester, especially in the spring, it's a long, cold semester. So no, if you're deliberate about what you do though, you can put in time for yourself. If you don't, your work's going to expand to the amount of time you have in the day, and then you're never going to be sleeping and everything. But if you're deliberate about it, it's like, oh, I'm going to spend 3 hours on this. I'm going to get it done. You're going to have time to do other things. So we work on scheduling, case briefing a lot at the start of the year, because your books that you're going to have aren't really going to be textbooks. They're going to be case books. And judges don't write their opinions for your benefit. They're writing it for the litigants. They're writing it to solve a problem, but you're still tasked with the charge of pulling out the rule and trying to figure out what the judge was saying, maybe sometimes when the judge didn't even know what the judge was saying, and it could be really tough to do. So it's a skill of how you approach that in class. So when your professor asks you, what was the holding of this case? What were the facts? You're going to be prepared so you can engage in that class. Outlining is another subject we talk a lot about kind of as we're getting to the midterms and the finals, because a lot of information, kind of putting it together, studying it, working with it so you get it in your brain, so you're ready for that final. Then practice exams as we get to exam period. So you're actually doing one of these exams. You know exactly what it is going to look like. In the spring, we have some additional semesters like, what do? You did really well your first semester? Great. What can we do to do even better? You did okay, but you want to do a little better? We can work on that with you too. In March, of course, we have a lot of people meeting with us about filling out their NCAA brackets. I have Kansas winning, so they're still on there. But we also have preliminary bar workshops that we do. I used to say the master's students don't have to pay attention to this because they don't take the bar exam, but we have a lot of our master's students who, when they get in here and they start doing the March or the MFALP or the MERL or the MELP, they come and they stay and they want to do the JD program. So that's something to be thinking about too. So we have sessions that are going to prepare you specifically for what the bar exam looks like, how to answer those questions. So when you graduate, you're not going to be surprised. You'll have a good basis for that. I keep saying we. So what does that mean for ASP? So I'm one of the people in ASP. We have a great student mentors who are the ASP mentors. Sarah Munger right there is one of them. There might be a couple other ones in the room. Rasheta's right there. Both happen to be property TAs as well. Many of our ASP mentors also serve as TAs in your classes because they had the exact same professors that you have this year, the year before, or 2 years before. So and they're constant communication with the professors, so they have a really good handle on telling you what you need to do to be successful in a class. I'm in ASP. Katrina Munyon, our program manager, is in ASP. She really manages the ASP Mentors. We have a great lending library with resources for supplemental study guides that you can do, the workshop series that I talked about. I also teach some skills-based classes, and in your 3L year, if you're a JD, teaching a bar exam skills and tactics class, which will give you a lot of the substance and skills that are specifically related to the bar exam that you'll be taking. We work a lot with students across all programs, master's, JD. A lot of master's students and 1L JDs are coming in because it's a completely new experience. And we do have a TA and a mentor in the only class that all the master's students are taking, the legislation and regulation, because aside from that, you're kind of spread out in a lot of different classes based on your interest area. But a lot of our mentors will have taken classes that you had with that too, so they could provide you a really good basis for that. So if you have any questions, I'll be around all day. I'll be doing the color run. A great thing about VLS is like I go walking during the day, and sometimes literally this week somebody pulled up their car, stopped it in the street, started talking to me, forgot she had a paper in her house, parked the car in the street, ran inside, got a book, came back outside and talked. So if you want to talk to me while we're running on the color run, that's totally cool. It's the benefit of being in a nice small town. But welcome to VLS today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the events they have planned.
Actually, I'm going to point out one prospective student, Grace. She came here yesterday. I know, sorry, Grace. And she's planning on law school in 2019. And so one of my favorite students organized the Solutions Conference yesterday, which was based in technology, and she has an energy background, so it's the combination of technology and energy. And she attended, when she was a prospective student, years ago, the Solution Conference, so I already told Grace that, I guess, 2021, you'll be here and planning the Solutions Conference. All right, so I wanted to invite a few students up. I'm going to start with Rasheta. And Rasheta, can you come up here and just talk a little bit briefly about your experience at VLS?
Okay. Hey everybody, my name is Rasheta Butler. I am from Chicago. By way of North Carolina, Asheville, before I came to law school. I am in the JD program. I am a 2L. What's he trying to say? Okay, I love VLS, of course, because I'm an ambassador, and I'm ambassador on campus, off of campus, after I graduate, and all. I'm really involved on campus. There's a lot that you can do on campus. Like, for example, I am the president of the Black Law Students Association here on campus. Also, you heard earlier that I am an ASP mentor, meaning that for academic success program, I meet with students weekly, and also I'm a TA for a property class, which is one of my favorite classes here on campus. And outside of that, I'm also involved, if my group knows this, the Vermont Journal of Environmental Law, where we had a great tour at. So I'm part of that journal, and I will be on the e-board next year for volume 20. And I have fun with my friends. So I'm not for sure if anybody have questions, please feel free to talk to me. The reason why I came here was because of the people. When I came here in April, the previous year before I attended in 2016, I fell in love with the people. And you see Rinku up here. Rinku was the first person I met here when I came on my visit. She's like, Rasheta, you need to come here. And I was like, well, you know, I can wait another year. She's like, no, you need to come here now. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna come here. So because of her, I literally came here. I took the LSAT. I studied for the LSAT in 4 weeks. Took the LSAT, came here, packed up my whole car, and moved. And I do not regret it one bit because I met great people. One of my best friends is sitting right here, and my sister, can you find her, Diane? But I met great people here, and these are lifelong friendships that I would long have. And even the faculty and the staff and the professors and the deans, they're amazing. Like Maureen over here, she's amazing. I literally cried in her office one day, and she allowed me to do that, and I really appreciate it. So thank you. If you have questions, let me know.
Very true. If you get a chance, please talk to Maureen. She is our registrar, so she's actually in the trenches with you when you're trying to figure out, where do I go? What do I do? What do I want to be? What do I need to take? Oh, you mean I already should have taken that? So she's the person you need. So Cynthia, do you want to come up and tell us a little bit about your experience at Vermont Law School?
Hello, my name is Cynthia Margarita Peña Ortiz. You guys can all call me Cynthia. I am. Everyone's like, phew, thank God. I'm originally from the Dominican Republic. I was born and raised there, but then I moved to New York City. So I am from Queens, New York. And I actually took a different route for law school. Like, I came to visit Vermont Law School. I was all about coming here, doing social justice, environmental justice. I had 12 years of experience before law school in the nonprofit field, especially in domestic violence. And I was like, oh, that's what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that. I sat in class and I was like, maybe that's not what I wanna do. I don't think that's what I wanna do at all. And I remember freaking out and being like, I'm not gonna be okay here. Andrew actually was an ambassador that I like cried to, and I was like, I don't have any phone service, by the way. My phone isn't working. And like Rasheta and I met because I was literally crying. I was like, I need to get out of here. I can't. This is so small. I'm coming from New York. I don't have a Starbucks. I don't see a place where I can do my hair. I can't do my nails here. Like, my eyebrows are gonna look a hot mess. It was just horrible. Like, I was freaking out. And Rasheta was like, okay, well, I'm Rasheta. I love it here. We could go hiking. And I was like, that's not what I want to do. so it was really like, it was just one of those situations where it took a lot for me to like end up staying here, because I was really, really planning on transferring, right? Especially when I realized that I wanted to change my whole life and go into the corporate sector, right? And I was like, I don't know what VLS could do for me if I'm going corporate, and this is #1 law school for environmental law. And then I saw and met most of the professors here, and everyone was like, we will work with you so that you could figure out what you want to do and how you're going to get there, right? And so I was so blessed to have professors who literally sat with me and worked with me in starting I have a construction company with my father, and professors were like guiding me through the whole process. So right now I have a whole literally LLC that thankfully to this school I was able to start. So that's one. 2, I was able to actually figure out that what I wanted to do wasn't hard. It's just that it was something that would take me to think outside the box, right? And I wasn't able to figure that out because I'm taking all these courses and I'm not seeing the other end of it. But the professors here, the faculty, the staff, all came and spoke to me, and they were like, you know what? That what you want to do is not something that is unreal. It's not unheard of. You could actually do this. And so I like ended up realizing that I want to do housing development. I want to build low-income housing for survivors of domestic violence, and I'm getting there and I'm working through that. And I'm so thankful that I have like professors who, when I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this, were like, yes, you can. Just breathe. It's okay. You're gonna make it. And so that's literally what allowed me to stay here at VLS. And I think that they only hired me to be an ambassador because I'm that one ambassador that's like, so yeah, you can make it even though, you know, you feel like you might not fit in, this might not be what you're used to. But but it becomes home, right? And so after that, I signed up to be an ambassador. Someone told them I could do it, and I guess here I am. And then I became, as Rasheta is the president of the Black Law Student Association, I'm the vice president, and I'm also the treasurer for the Latino Law Student Association. And like I said, I'm also getting my business certificate, so switched my whole life with the help of the people here at BLS, and I'm very thankful. And I think that's all I could say now.
I think it's kind of funny because it's, you mentioned Cynthia, and Cynthia mentioned Drew. Yeah. So Drew, yeah, I know, and it was not planned. Ben, you're up next, so Drew, please make sure that you mention Ben. So Drew is a third year and from New Jersey, and what are you studying?
I'm in the JD program, and I'm concentrating in energy law. Katie wanted me to talk about my summer when I clerked for an administrative law judge for the District of Columbia. That was a great experience. You're doing that this summer? It's awesome. The judge is an alum that likes to save a couple spots of the clerks for VLS students, so I was able to get in that way. My orders that I wrote for the judge, I'm able to use on writing samples for clerkships in New Jersey. It was a great experience. I think VLS has a lot of awesome externship opportunities, so if you don't have that much experience right now, you can definitely make up for it while you're in school. I was a lifeguard before I came here. And then I was able to clerk and work at FERC, and Jeannie was able to, who I met at the energy clinic, she's given me a recommendation on my bar application. Thank you very much. Also, it's Connor Sullivan's birthday, and I promised him a shout out on the live streams. Happy birthday, Connor. And let me know if you guys have any questions in regards to energy law or the externship programs. I think I would love to talk to you guys about that. And I came to VLS because of the tight-knit community here. I was nervous coming to law school because I don't have any, my parents aren't lawyers, I don't have any family that's a lawyer. So I was able to really get instructions here, and my questions were always answered. And let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you.
So, as you noticed today, I had the help of many of my first-year students. A lot of my 2Ls and 3Ls were taking the MPRE, so you guys will experience that in a couple years. But they really came to help, and they're an amazing group of students who study hard and just happen to have this Saturday available. So Ben's going to talk to you a little bit about what he wants to do and what it's like, what's different than what you expected.
So just a little background on me. I did my undergrad at SUNY Geneseo, Anthropology, Environmental Sciences, with a little bit of bio thrown in. Jumped over to the UK to study primate conservation, spent a bit of time working down in Kenya and Madagascar, studying primates and working with interdisciplinary problems, trying to find the most workable solution for all of them. One of the things I noticed was that either for stubbornness or lack of the tools they needed, a lot of the problems we were addressing were becoming quote-unquote hammer and nail problems, where if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem starts to look like a nail. So people were applying the same solution over and over, regardless of what the actual problem was. Seeing this, I tried to address it as best I could, but finding that my tools just weren't where they needed to be, decided to turn to law and to policy design. VLS happened to pop down on my Google search one day, and I think that was December 2016. It was too late to sign up for the February LSAT, so signed up for the June. Studied hard, took that one, wound up being accepted, and only found out August 2nd I had actually gotten in. So it took me a week and a half to actually get up here, move in for time, in time for orientation. So a bit of a breakneck pace getting started. But the community was incredibly welcoming. My fellow students were there for me. It's a very supportive, inclusive community, and I think that actually speaks to the type of town it is. So one of my major fears was it's small, it's remote, it's far away from everything I've seen or known. I mean, I don't really have a problem wandering around and just dropping into different parts of the world, but Vermont was interesting in that I was going to be here for 3 years for a definite extended period of time. So one of the things I was looking at was, what is there to do? What type of place is it? And I think if it had been in a city, you would see that people with niche interests or special interests would be able to go out and find other people who share those interests. Instead, because we're such a small area, only semi-remote, but still a little more remote than other places, those niche interests stay here, and what they wind up doing is bring other people in to share those. So now we have tons of special interest groups on campus, Tabletop Society for one, Environmental Law Society, VLOC. I'm not going to list them all because I'm going to leave someone out and they'll get angry at me. But Alliance, also. Basically anything you want to get involved in, there is a group on campus, or there is the avenue to start that type of group. So in my 1L year, what I've noticed most is that any idea you have or any problem you want to address, VLS has the tools and the type of education in place to help you address those. So we just had the legal tech conference, the solutions conference on Friday, and the topic was legal tech. One of the mindsets they emphasized was taking the hacker's ethics to any problem you have. That's taking it apart, seeing how it works, getting to know every little bit of it, and putting it back together in a new and workable format. Vermont Law School takes that a step further, where they actually want you to include ideas of social justice or restorative justice or professional responsibility into those solutions. So I kind of got the impression that you could learn law anywhere. You could have gone to any law school and learned the same black letter law as here. But what I felt Vermont teaches is a different mindset, something that really impresses upon the lawyer their responsibility to their clients, to, not to sound too cheesy, but to the world, to making a change through your actions that I didn't get at other schools I visited or that I was looking at. So if you guys have any questions, you can just approach me after, but that's my spiel.
With Ashley. So Ashley Thompson. So Ashley is a master's student here, Master Environmental Law and Policy. You are from Pennsylvania. And Ashley is also my work study and really helped Nancy and myself with this event. So if we could give her a round of applause. Also was involved in our New Frontiers for undergraduate. So I know I have students here who are considering law school for 2019. If you want to talk a little bit about how that led you to your master's program.
Okay, so as Katie said, my name's Ashley. So I did the New Frontiers. It was environmental law and policy when I did it 3 years ago, just about. I was the first group to come through. So basically with that program, you come up, you are in classes with JD students, master students. We were held to the same standards. We asked a lot more questions, but we were able to just sit in, get the real feel for what Vermont Law School is actually like. We also had a mentor. So my mentor was Kia, and she's a lovely person. She drove us everywhere. We went to Ben & Jerry's. We did barbecues on the weekend. We went tubing down the White River. It was a great way to just kind of get to know Vermont law and get to know what we do here outside of just sitting in class and studying. So I would definitely recommend it if you're considering it, you're not really sure. Our summer program is a great way to come just take a class, see how you like it. And also, so I'm a current master's student, so when I came to do the program, everyone here was so welcoming, so helpful. The professors here are great. The way I say it is, usually in undergrad, your professors are paid to do, they come to that school to do research. And because of that, they also have to teach, whereas here, our professors come because they want to teach you. That's their main goal, is to help you succeed and learn whatever class that they're teaching. So Lori, since you're sitting right in my line of sight, she was actually our little helper during my New Frontiers program. She kind of dumbed everything down for us when we didn't know anything about what they were talking about. And she was one of the reasons I came back as well, because she was so helpful, and now I've taken 2 classes with her and maybe a third. So everyone here is just so welcoming. As you can see, the students were very open, professors as well. They all came, sat with us, talked with us, and it's just a great place to go. So.
We have concluded with our programming, and I do hope you stay around for the color dance, and I want to thank you. Thank you for making the trip to Vermont. I know I have students from Kansas, Washington State, California, Texas, Indiana, Iowa, Pennsylvania. Go Eagles, I guess. It took a lot to say that, but I do want to thank you for taking the time and visiting. If you have any questions, I'm going to be here. I'm going to stay back. If you have any questions about housing, it's wonderful New England housing. So for my students from Washington State and California, I can walk you through that. I'm from Phoenix, so it's a little different. We enjoy our small, tiny, quirky apartments. Indoor-outdoor carpeting is indoor carpeting everywhere in New England. So please, thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be back here staying at the color run. So thank you and enjoy Vermont. Have fun.